There's probably one thing in Vampire Knight that you probably may not have realized up until now. You see this kid over here? You might remember him just a few episodes only. So let's talk about him. Sup my awesome mad lads, my name is Mad Dog and welcome back to another Mad Theory episode. Yep, I know, I'm going back to another Vampire Knight video. Pretty much I've done a few of these back in the past if you have not realized, but I feel like this will be an interesting one because I don't know if anyone has actually noticed any of this yet. Now, as I said before at the beginning, this kid over here, he's a very important aspect that probably a lot of people may not have realized. And if you're a Vampire Knight fan like me, you might have just realized this yourself up until now. You see, this kid was actually in the second episode of Vampire Knight Guilty, then actually made a comeback, and then decided to come back in just like, I think the fourth episode of Vampire Knight Guilty only. We don't know his name, we don't know even what his family is like, but we do know that he is a pure-blood vampire. Just like Kaname, Yuki, Shizuka, and Rido. And that's the crazy thing about this kid. You see, in the second episode of Vampire Knight Guilty, Yuki actually takes this boy vampire back to his place, right? Where his home was. Or we sort of thought to believe that it was his home. After being returned into this gigantic mansion that has no windows, he gives Yuki a kiss on the cheek, but that somehow drained her life energy a bit and led her unconscious. So apparently this kid does have the ability to actually drain people's life, even vampires themselves, by the looks of things. For a kid like that, he is pretty special. But as you can obviously tell by the looks of his eyes, this was the beginning of the rise of Rido Kuran. Technically speaking, that Rido Kuran was possessing this child. How was he basically possessing this child exactly, you may ask? Even when he was still dead? Well, this is the next interesting part. And about probably, I guess, in episode 4 of Vampire Knight Guilty, in the beginning of that episode, we see Senri walking with his uncle to actually go down to this basement, where technically speaking that his father, Rido Kuran, was actually in that basement, in a pool of blood, being regenerated in order for his resurrection. And guess who actually showed to the party as well? That little kid that Yuki was trying to take home. Now you're also probably wondering to yourself, how the heck did this kid actually end up here? Well, as I said, Rido was possessing him. This, however, makes things a little bit more complicated because, first off, if Rido's body was in this pool of blood, well, this body was actually in an actual coffin a few episodes later. How the heck is that even possible? Did they just somehow get the remains of Rido's body, but yet this was Rido's body in that coffin? Please explain to me. Anyways, that also doesn't get to be told out either. I don't know how the hell that happened, but it seems like maybe they must have just got whatever remains they could, replicate of Rido Kuran's actual body. But the real body was literally in that coffin, like, episodes later. That's pretty bizarre. Anyways, we obviously can tell that that Rido was talking through this kid, and the moment when he actually let go of the kid, this part of his body was actually being risen, and then afterwards, he actually possesses his son Senri himself instead. And then obviously a few episodes later, then the actual Rido's body was actually in there. Kaname gives him blood and then it resurrects, but of course he dies thanks to Zero's most powerful weapon, the Bloody Rose, after drinking his twin brother's Ichiro Kurio's blood. So apart from all of that, let's figure out why exactly this kid was chosen by Rido Kuran. What was the exact significance that he actually wanted to possess this child in the first place in order to gain his resurrection? Is there some sort of lifeblood or maybe some sort of relationship that they actually have? Kind of reminds me of The Lion King 2, where basically, Scar chose Kovu, but technically, Kovu was not Scar's father, he just took him in. This is exactly that kind of thing. But why was that exactly? Why was that actually possible? Why would Rido decide to do something like that? And was this sort of technique or method used before throughout the rest of the Vampire Knight anime series? Truth is, it has happened before. Ever since in season 1. And we get to hear all the information from that from Rido Kuran from the very first episode of Vampire Knight Guilty. Take a listen. So in other words, while Shizuka was actually being kept inside that icy coffin for so long, waiting to be resurrected, she was able to have the ability to possess Rido Kuran while even in her slumber. However, the only crazy thing about this is that both Rido Kuran and Shizuka Hiro are actually related by blood. Rido Kuran and that boy that he was possessing are not related by blood, yet they are both vampires. So why was it all of a sudden that Rido needed the time to use this child in order to be his plan before he could resurrect his proper body or even possess Senri? Is it possible that this kid could have actually been related to the Kuran family as well? Because first off, number one, take a look at this kid's hair for a second. This kid's hair is kind of similar to Senri's, right? It's kind of got like that bright reddish brownish hair. But what about the eyes? We know that the eyes themselves are obviously Rido Kuran's. They've always been red and blue on different sides of the eyes. But that's basically whenever Rido always possesses someone. The same thing happened when he was possessing Senri. We don't technically know whether the eye color of this child was actually, the same thing as Rido's. We could probably much assume that he probably had a different eye color perhaps, before he was even possessed by Rido Kuran. Also, we don't know much about the mother of that child as well, but if I look really closely, the hair kind of looks very close to that child as well, now that I think about it. We don't actually get to see the mother's face at all either, which is another thing. If we notice that there's actually more of a family tree in the Vampire Knight Guilty DVD on the very third volume that you grab, and if you go specifically to Kaname's family tree, you would see this, that, Senri and Kaname are technically cousins. So would that technically mean that this kid was also a cousin to the Kuran family as well, just like Senri is? Possibly. But we just don't even know but here's the other thing, as I said, we also don't know this kid's name either, nor the mother's name or the family names of this kid. Whether it's a Kuran or not, or maybe is even related to the Kurans, is another story. What about the kid's powers? Since that the kid managed to drain Yuki's energy out unconsciously, does this mean that Rido Kuran also had that exact same ability as well? Or was this just something that the kid must have had, and maybe he didn't probably even notice it himself? I really do feel like that there are a few things about this kid that more than meets the eye, and due to the continuation of Vampire Knight happening thanks to Vampire Knight Memories manga, I don't know if we're going to be seeing that anytime soon, because we have heard nothing about this kid at all after those 2 episodes from Guilty, and that is literally it. He was just literally just lying there after when Rido was possessing Senri. So what about the child? What the frick happened with the child then when he was just laying there? And I'm pretty sure the freaking mother would have been worried sick about her own child, which is pretty, very concerning here, I'm not gonna lie. So, yeah. at this point, like, why the heck would they just leave him there? I mean, did the Senate afterwards decide to bring this child back? Let's hope so. I mean, the Senate may be cruel, but hopefully they're not that cruel. Unless the kid literally has to find his own way home, which this is pretty terrifying, especially for the fact that he is a vampire himself, but could he also be able to hang around, like, to, you know, be able to survive with whatever heck just happened with him? He probably wouldn't even knew that he was even possessed as well, which is also the other scary thing, especially for the mother. Anyway, apart from all that, I feel like that's all the info that I can have about this kid. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Do you think that this kid in particular has any interesting connection with Rido Kuran in particular? Can it be related to the Kuran family? Heck, I mean, would there even be a continuation about this kid for, like, maybe even have some Vampire Night memories? I don't freaking know. I highly doubt that he would, because he's been there for years, and hopefully that he is, you know, he's safe after the events of Vampire Night Guilty, which hopefully is the case. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I just wanted to bring this up because this was one of the most profound things that I just found myself realizing, that what the heck happened to this kid? Is he even okay? So please like and subscribe if you haven't already to this channel. Click on the notification bell to never miss a video. And as always, my name is Mad Dog, and may your days be mad and rad.